Hello everyone, welcome. Hopefully you can all hear me right. Let me know in the chat. There's already quite a few of you waiting. Hostile power, yes, nice. Alright, cool. Hello, there we go. Perfect. Alright, I'll get into my plan. I will cover the trade breakdown I took last night. Still in that trade. And I'll cover a few other things. Plan for the week ahead. And we'll go through that. Any questions, etc. as well will be answered. So, yes, Callus made it this morning. Good morning, mate. Legend in the chat. Okay, let's go. Let's get into it. So, we'll start off on TradingView real quick. Let me head over to TradingView. Okay, and we'll start off here because I took a short trade from last night. I don't know if this will show it. That won't show it, will it? Bring it back down. It's got the levels of interest I was looking at. Okay, sorry to be blinding you all here with this. We'll do that. Right, where we took the series of highs, where you had one high. Actually, it probably makes sense to just stay on the darker chart so everyone don't get blinded. But we had these highs taken, and now obviously we saw a decent drop, drop from that. Move back to the upside now. I'm still actually holding a portion of that trade. I closed some of it down here because, in terms of talking about the trade itself, I'll go into that in a second. But I had something looking like this, and it would be kind of stupid, okay, to let a 3R trade just completely run the whole thing back up towards where my stop, okay. Okay, so I have taken a portion of that off, but I haven't fully closed this yet. Okay, so I'm still in this trade, in this short. I'll go over my plan for the week now. Okay, so my levels, and then I'll break down the trade in further detail before we kind of get into it. So if we just go to here, I've got my liquidity levels up. These are the levels of interest really for me. I mean, I mentioned, I think it's been 2 weeks in a row now. We've had really good trades off the plan. I mean, that's what I'm trading anyways. The plan I plan out on a Monday. I do this for myself just as much as I do it probably for you lot as well. So yeah, the idea is the only real short trade I would look to take if this is to continue heading higher. Okay, so if this is to continue heading higher, the only real short trade I would look to take is off of 35,513, and that is because again, there's a high hit rate level down here for today, so there's a decent likelihood we hit this. So if we get something like this, is possible, but this doesn't have to be hit just straight away. So with that said, it doesn't, if we do reclaim this high, and I would be cautious on shorting here, but I'm definitely looking for it if the reaction is there. And if the reaction is there, then I'll target back down to here if we don't move down from here where we are now. So that is kind of my current outlook. If it moves up again, that's really the only place I'd look for a short. Otherwise, I would really look for a lot higher prices and to get stopped out the remainder of this short that I'm in now. So aside from that, this is the only real reason to look for a short. Aside from that, I'm not really interested in shorting many other regions. Yeah. And with that said, if you do comfortably reclaim this, I will be closing the hedge position I have on Bitcoin as well. So it kind of is where we are, from last week, similar position. Again, we haven't reclaimed it yet, but I'm prepared for that. And that's where we are currently. So that's for short trades, this high here. And if we reclaim this high, where am I really looking towards? There is actually there's one level I'm actually interested in, one more. And if we just head over to Coinbase chart, I haven't updated this chart in a while, but the only other place I would look for a short is off of $36,000 being taken on Coinbase. Okay, so again, for the linear, this isn't too significant. You know, you could see an SFP of these highs here, like I said, and I'll show you again on the order flow as well what's interesting up here for sure. But you obviously got one high, two high, you know, three highs now creating that high, but again, we haven't tested that yet. So that's region 1. Region 2 would be 36k, so it's generally going to be the overall high here, but again on Bybit etc, it's a bit different. It's, you know, 36,100. So I'll just make sure that if we come up and take that high for an SFP, that I'd want to see that happen on Coinbase. Okay, if we are to get that, if we are to see a move higher, that's the only thing I'd look for. 2 levels. Aside from that, you know, where we are now, there's nothing really interesting for me to really be getting to, apart from, in my opinion, like, I'm remaining short here, and I'm hedging the bet in that sense, you know, that I haven't closed this short yet, and yeah, I'm prepared to if we head higher. So that's kind of the plan for the short side of things. For the longs, if this is to drop from here, I've been very, very clear on the only region I'm looking to long, and that would actually be 33,881.5. Very, very adamant about this level, providing a potential reaction. I don't see anyone really talking about this level, so, you know, again, I don't really check, to be honest, what most people are looking for, but I would say this is the only real region. If this starts to drop, I would definitely be looking towards 33,881 for a long. You know, I really wouldn't be interested in longing any sort of drop here, maybe off of this low, but it's not really in my plan to be looking for a long again off that. It would be more so to come down towards here. If we're just going to take a fixed range pool, so again, I always make it very clear every week the kind of trade setups I'm looking for. So again, I'll cover that now. Trade setup 1, well, I'm in my short now, I want to make that clear. I'm still in that position of the short, and I'm also hedged. Trade setup 1 would be an SFP of these highs here, 33,500 region. Okay, something like this, which then we could target down towards this level, and if this, you know, if it don't hold, then look down towards here. This is if we head higher. And option 2 is the swing failure pattern of $36,000 on Coinbase. Okay, so option 1 here, option 2 36k on Coinbase. Okay, I'm referring to Coinbase because linear and derivatives have taken that level, and hopefully that makes sense in terms of shorts. And for the long, really simply 33,881. And if you lose that, then I'd look down towards 33,229. You don't want to be dropping below there, in my opinion, because if you start to drop below there, if you start to lose these levels here, this can really escalate quickly, because I think this is a decent high putting on the chart so far, right? So far, not to say that we can't test it again, but just so far, I think it's a decent high. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to get into the trade I took yesterday a little bit, why I took it, a few other things I've noticed, and again, it will, at the end of the day, drive down to stats. Actually, there's something else I wanted to show quickly as well on XO. So this is a session liquidity template. Again, you probably see me mention this a lot, but that 30, you know, that other short opportunity we potentially have here, right? You got one high, another high, another high, so it's 3 consecutive session highs before like a gap in price action. Really, really nice, in my opinion, to potentially provide a short trade off that as well. But yeah, like I said, made it very, you know, this is in my opinion, a very, very key level. You know, we might not even test it, but if you see acceptance above this level, I think the session candles help me actually identify my bias on the chart a lot better as well. I'm just hoping that, okay, if we reclaim this, there's literally nothing really here, and they work exceptionally well. Again, I've released my latest, I'll go through the questions in a second, but I released my latest templates and workspaces for XO Desktop within the free Discord. I should probably link that below these streams. I haven't, but you can go to my website and find it. It's on the website. Just click on the banner, it's free, just join it if you want, and you'll see the templates and workspaces there. No sign up or anything. So yeah, that is the plan. I always want to make sure before I even do anything else, that everyone understands the plan. There's literally 3, possibly 4 opportunities, mainly 3. The fourth one that I'm referring to is maybe this low here, but nothing too crazy. I'd say this high, 36k or 33.8. Those are the major trades I'm looking for the week ahead. Kind of leave it there. So yeah, let's head over to this trade breakdown. Why did I take a short from here? Why am I still in it? What's all this about? So we'll head over to, well, first of all, actually, I'll start on TradingView. I'll just leave it on here, because what you had over the weekend, right? You obviously had, from really here onwards is the weekend. You had this low put in, and then I really did saw, and I actually put it in my weekly outlook plan that I released literally minutes before before this actually occurred. But I saw, you had one resting high, another resting high. This is all, and then on a Sunday night, I've mentioned this before a lot, but the Sunday night moves, Sunday evening UTC at key levels of interest is always a decent opportunity for me to be looking like, okay, I can get into a potential trade here. So what I mean by that is, and I'll talk with the reaction in a second, but let's say there's a level of interest on the chart, and then the level of interest, I'll change the color in a second, the level of interest gets hit, right? That level of interest gets hit on that Sunday evening. The likelihood of me taking that trade is higher. It's just simple as that, because I know that Sunday evening tend to actually have reversals. And this is actually also gauged through the stats that I released publicly about the session volume per hour per day, where you can see the peaks and troughs of where volume generally increases and decreases, creating those custom session times, etc. This is, it was making sense. In this case, you had like 2 resting highs, which then obviously got swing failure patterned. And I was like, okay, well, I actually debated this trade. Usually I'm just I just execute. And in this case I did. But it was just like, okay, it's a swing failure pattern. My bias shouldn't really go again. In this case, I'm just very much, okay, I'm going to take the trade. Because it's a Sunday evening, it's a swing failure pattern of a key level, and the order flows, we've got spike in volume, liquidations, which let's just go into that now. So what I saw, we can actually do some good stuff here. I'm hoping this will work. Yeah, it does. So we're literally like pumped into this level. Which was the level exactly? 35,340. We'll just mark that out. 35,340. You like literally just pumped into the level, right? I think it was actually look better on the 5 minute. I'll go on here because I'm alternating between those 2 time frames, 5 and 15 minute, as I've always mentioned this before. Yeah. Okay. So you like obviously put in a really spike. Like everyone probably is thinking this is like rallying hard to the upside. Again, replay from here. Price pumps up. I think it was 341, right? And in what I was seeing at the time, there's a lot of people getting stopped out into the move, spike in volume, extended delta. I think this was a really crucial part for me, was the fact that you had at the time, if we can actually rewind a little bit, and we'll decrease the speed a lot, because a lot can happen within the span of this candle. I mean, you can see the open interest increased a bit here towards the high, where you actually saw like a decent amount of people getting stopped out, people trying to long the breakout. But more importantly, what did I write down in my journal? Spike in volume, because level of interest being the 2 series of highs. Even down here you can see, making sure I'm on EXO, right? Yeah, 2 series of highs, 1, 2, that got taken. Again, that's important. Spike in volume, extended delta, where you've got a discrepancy in terms of the delta, the final delta, and liquidations. And it was just a generic 15-minute swing failure pattern, okay, where the 15-minute candle just closed below the level. It's literally 3 or 4 simple steps. Again, I'll confirm that again. But more importantly, the time it occurred also played into the confidence in taking that trade. So it was spike in volume 1, extended delta 2, liquidations 3, 15-minute SFP candle 4, right? And then also at the same time, it's at your level of interest, and it's at a key time in terms of Sunday evening UTC, where I know volume kind of can peaks off, or volume comes into the market for potential reversals, etc., etc. Okay. Trade management on that case, I was looking down towards to take this towards these lows at 33,881. Not to say that can't happen right now, but price moved down. I ended up taking a bit of this off, so I took around like 40% off as I saw this move down, because my alerts went off during the middle of the night for me. And then as soon as it happened, I didn't take profit on any of this move here. It was more so this move here, this initial move. I woke up, price is like moving up. I'm still remaining in like 60% of this trade, by the way, and I'm comfortable letting it stop me out on the remainder, if it, you know, if so fit, because I realized the opportunity of potentially capturing a move back to the downside, if it is to still move back down, is greater than me getting stopped on 60%. And in that case, it would still probably be like a 0.2, 0.3R trade. So I'd like break even or just about make money on it if it does stop me out in this case. So that's kind of my plan. Okay. And also, I would not like to note that today there is a decent, you know, again, this is the high hit rate level for today, around $35,000. And I can't read somebody. Okay, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Yes, okay. I'm going to go through some of the questions now. My bad. I don't really show anything. Yeah, there's a high hit rate level down there. Back towards 35k is what I was referring to. But overall, yeah, those were the kind of trades. Hopefully that made sense anyway. I wanted to go through some of the questions anyway. What do you think about the MPOC at $37,000? Yeah, you see, the thing is, for me, like I personally feel if this is to continue heading higher, it could reject at 37k. It could, you know, I'm not gonna deny that. But more possible or more likely, if we'll do a very, very brief. Actually, I wanted to do this first. I'll do something else first. Fixed range tool from this point here to the end. This point of control is holding. It's, you know, it's holding. So, like I said, this is really the biggest support in my opinion. I wouldn't long another touch of this though. I'll tell you this now. If we came back down there, I wouldn't like be interested in longing here. I would probably think it's going to break through. So yeah, you know the plan in that sense. I'm just referencing to where we are in relation to that point of control and seeing how we are trundling along. Right. Yeah. So what I was going to say, if this breaks up from here, right, if this continues to just rally, $37,000, yeah. Yeah, you have 37k, but I would personally think I would just have the bias that we head to $40,000 at that point. But again, we're still well away off that. And again, like I feel, yeah, there are a lot of, I just saw this in the chat, there seems like a lot of lows to be taken below us, which is definitely true, and it may seem a bit too obvious to look for a long on the pullback like that, and it could give everyone an opportunity. That's definitely a thought to think about. Now personally, my thought process is, if this retraces here and I get into a long here, it could rally to the upside again, but I would think it's going to just print another lower high and just continue heading down, or range bound. You know, it really is kind of where we are. I think this is a good Monday to kind of set up the week. You know, what happens from here onwards. I think the levels for me are like extremely clear as to how to be planning this out. But we've got that daily level up there. You know, we're stuck between, I don't know if you never know if I updated this one. I think I need to delete that one. That's it. We've got like two you know, the high here is like extremely important, and hopefully you can see how I'm playing a lot of this off liquidity. And you know, we are above that point of control, but we haven't cleared, you know, this is that point of control here, but we haven't really cleared this significant resistance here yet. You know, we saw this run of the highs here. I'm going to try see if I can go back and find another point in time on a Sunday, because it does happen fairly frequently. Like you'll get a massive Sunday night spike or something along those lines. Even like here, right? I just want to just pay attention to this. I mean, I didn't trade this, by the way. I don't think I did, at least I don't remember. But like, you know, you're sideways the whole of Sunday into like the CME open time hours and stuff. You get a drop in price, and then that's like the pivot low. That's like pivot low. You then like massively rally from there. It's fairly common, and I'm, you know, I have stats on this for my own trading, but I don't want to like just say that out loud. And I'm just telling you, I was confident enough to take that trade. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is where we are again today. This could be one of those scenarios where this does put in the pivot high and it does continue moving down. And I'm willing to take that risk, you know, because if I'm wrong, and I think this is something to talk about in terms of trading, you know, I'm still looking for lower prices. You know, that's just kind of the way I'm thinking. If I'm wrong, you know, you need to be thinking about, if you're wrong on a trade, where will you get back in? You know, what's the next plan? You know, I'm not just blinded if it just pumps from here. Well, clearly it's this level here, and if it doesn't do any sort of rejection here, well, then $36,000, and I'm not interested in, you know, I'm not really too interested in shorting, you know, in anything else, and that's really the plan. You know, I'm able to sit on my hands otherwise. Yeah. I don't really look at previous day value area high and lows. You can track like larger range volume pools, but overall, you know, I used to, I don't look at that anymore. I'll just tell you now for free. I do not mark, you know, if you look at my previous day levels, right, I literally mark out the high, the low, previous day open, daily open, and like the equilibrium as well, and that's it. There's nothing else marked out. Well, I use different things for biases, right? You know, like the higher time frame fixed volume pools is like, this is an ongoing sideways range. Yeah. And then I can take that into account in terms of my bias for my lower time frame execution, my biases, right? So, yeah, even like here, would I classify these as higher time frame levels? No, not really. The liquidity levels. Damn, give me a second, I need a drink. Keck. I don't understand what that means. That's the plan. I mean, this was the plan from last week for any that was like planning for this. This was the best trade in my opinion. Also, this was really good for the hedge. The long didn't play out, but that was that. I mean, what is your strategy to execute? Yeah, my execution, I'm looking for multiple different things. You know, you have, if we just cut this off, multiple different things. I mean, this is a deep, you know, I want to make this very clear. This is not, I did not trade this high, but this is an example of a trapped value area where price opens down here, closes up here, just outside the value area. Okay, where the value area is here. You've left behind a spike in volume, extended delta where, what is extended delta where? The final delta, which is just delta. I kind of refer to it as final delta, as that makes sense to kind of explain this case. The final delta was 1.2 million, right? But the maximum delta before that was 6.4 million within that candle. So like there's a lot of extended delta at those highs. I would, you know, when I'm looking for reversals at the highs, I'm looking at the delta versus the delta max. And when I'm looking at the lows, I'm looking at the delta versus the delta minimum, right? To see if there's any discrepancy between those two. You know, like even down here, there's a bit, you know, the delta minus 35.5 million, you know, the negative, the delta minimum was minus 65 million. There's like a big discrepancy there. You know, the best ones are actually ones, let's see if I can find an example. This is a decent example because, you know, this is like fairly neutral. and then the delta max is like fairly high, you know, and that's what I'd like to look for. Oh god. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That I was literally, yeah, the screen was gone. I'll go over that again. So extended delta, look at the final delta, look at versus the delta max when you're looking at the highs. So if I'm looking at a reversal at the high, I'm looking at the final delta versus the delta maximum. And if I'm looking at a low, I'm looking at, you know, where is this? Delta versus delta minimum. Okay, so final delta versus delta minimum. So the candle has closed, for example, let's just go over this case here. The candle has closed 1.2 million delta, you know, but what happened before that to get us to that stage is what the delta maximum and delta minimum tells us, right? You don't add on minus these to get the final delta, by the way. It's just what happened, you know, there's an do I need to explain this in TradingView? I will in a second if needed, but this was the maximum delta in the candle. You know, it hit 6.4 million delta, and the lowest it was at was minus 2.1 million. So there's a big discrepancy there between those two. Yeah. And that's kind of it, you know, in terms of delta. And you know, you had a trap value area again, is what I was saying. Open, close, the value area is at the high. You know, you trapped all these participants up there. Yeah, this is something we need to look into. Okay, so I'm getting that again. I need to mark that down. I'll speak to the team about it. But you're getting Bybit data on XOs like freezing, so I'll have to discuss that. Yeah. But it's a very clear plan. I do like Mondays kind of set the tone for the week, if you call it. You know, this can just easily rally, but I think we've got very clear levels. The one tip of the week I would give, I've probably given it as tip of the week almost for like the last 3 weeks or whatever, but looking at these session candles for liquidity regions, like even down here, this is you know, these are like, I classify all of these as almost like swing lows. So if you've got one swing low here, then you've got a big gap to like the next two series of swing lows. That's not great. Same as here, you got 1, 2, 3 now, right? For like a big gap. So this is a nice opportunity for SFP. Same down here. I wouldn't. This has got like multiple, like just there's a lot down towards like 33,881. Yeah, that's that level of interest. So, and obviously we've seen like a potential high put in here locally. Am I trading on Bybit? Yes and no. I'm in a complex situation right now with the exchanges and stuff. But the ones I'd recommend, because I'm testing them out, right? Bybit, obviously, if you can. BitGet for in silico terminal, or WooX. WooX, I would love to trade on WooX, but that just not in silico yet. And that's what I spoke to the team about at in silico, is getting that integrated. WooX on in silico would be great, right? As well as WooX on XO charts. Yeah, so that's kind of the plan for today. If we're just looking at another thing to look at is right now. Let's just take this current trend, okay? Pull a dynamic profile to all of it, right? And we can shift this to show. We'll do this actually. We can see a few things. There's a lot of new longs or positions coming in here. There's a lot of new positions coming in here, and that's really at 35,100. So losing 35,100. Actually, I'll switch this to, which ones are these? I want to just see new longs here. So in an uptrend, I'd really like to see where the new longs opening. And it's very clear because there's only like one massive player there. So you're losing 35,100 locally. 35,100, where is this? You don't want to lose that, you know. If it drops below there, well, yeah, I'd look for lower. But again, let's see how this pans out. Let's see how it pans out. Okay. Yeah, I think 35,100 down here. Is there some stats that you like to collect but don't know how to or can't? I'd happily help. Drop me a DM. There probably are. And it's just more about, like, I discussed it probably on Twitter a bit. It was like, how do I come up with, like, naming the variables? You know, how do I go about the variables of it? You know, it's not so much about collecting it, but also just about thinking, how can I get a statistic that's reliable enough? You know, for example, how does, you know, what percentage move, you know, or for example, is taking a trade at London low profitable? You know, just, you got to have a question first. Have a question, and then you kind of work backwards through the steps to find out how to answer it. It's like, is it profitable? And then you kind of go, well, okay, what is classified as profitable? Where would I enter if this was the case? You know, and so on and so forth. It's not as various clear cut as yes, no. You have to kind of have very set parameters for each kind of stat you're collecting. You know, I think that's very important. I've also got some really good YouTube videos and stuff planned for this week, so hopefully you'll get to see those. But yeah, like I kind of just, when I'm talking about statistics, is hopefully to inspire some of you, because again, in the very beginning, I was like, the statistics seemed really daunting, where you just wouldn't want to open up a spreadsheet and get really going with it and working with stuff. You know, I don't have the best Excel skills in the world, but you know, I've got a few. So yeah, maximize this here. What we can do as well, anchored VWAP from here. We're above everything. We are above everything. For anyone that's new watching, very briefly, I'll just quickly go over the levels. This high here, 36k on Coinbase. I'll mark this out as it's got to be Coinbase. Coinbase has to take this for if this is going to trigger a SFP or failed auction or whatever. You need to see this being taken on Coinbase with the reaction. There's nothing else. I'm not interested in shorting in the middle of this. If it drops 33,881, you know, 3 levels, boom, 1, 2, 3. 4 trades, with the key being the point of control here needs to hold for higher prices to come. So yeah, does web version oh god, that's been deleted. Your strategy is similar to Empor. Are you referring to Emperor BTC maybe? If you are, nice guy, we spoke quite a bit before. Me and Emperor. Do you find Orderflow works better on linear rather than inverse perpetual? Not necessarily. I think they're both, you know, as long as it's Bybit, I'm trusting Orderflow, because otherwise on Coinbase or on Binance. I'm not trusting that, but I switch between them because I'm executing now more so BTC. I used to just trade BTC inverse. Now I'm trading BTC linear. So like I want to have, I don't want to have order flow BTC USD and then executing on linear. I'd rather have linear execution, linear order flow, and then linear execution. So does web version have different tools from the desktop one? Yeah, we are actually working on things to Exo Web as well. So Exo Web isn't just completely getting left behind or anything. New exchanges, etc., will be added to both platforms. If we go on to 1 minute here. Let's just take an anchored VWAP from the low. So you're holding that 33, and this comes into Confluence, by the way. Like if anyone's trading this locally, I'm not. I'm in that one short, but if you lose 33,100, it's where those new longs have entered. Alongside that is this anchored VWAP. Losing 30,100 region is like kind of the bearish sign locally. Okay. Alongside we have that high hit rate level, which comes into play in like 30 minutes, I would say, or so potentially. Yeah, I would. So if you're having to use like BitGet or Wuex and you don't have order flow for them, I personally, BitGet and Wuex I've tested, and I can be like, okay, their charts are very similar to like Bybit and what you end up getting in terms of like execution. So what I would say is use Bybit USDT linear, okay, for USDT linear for the order flow, and then execute on just the BitGet linear, or just execute on that way through in Silico terminal, and it syncs up pretty well in my opinion. So I've had no problems doing that. I will be honest with you though, I'm waiting for Wuex to be available in Silico, and that's what I spoke to the team about there. The reason I say that is because fees on Wuex right now are lower. I do believe Wuex will be like decent in the future as well, but the fees, especially when you're dealing with like larger accounts and stuff, like it's crazy. The difference is, even if it's like, it can be literally thousands of dollars, like a 0.01% change in your fees does over time. So like it is something to always be aware of. Yeah. Bybit ban where? I don't think Bybit will get banned. I don't think they done anything wrong. I don't know. I literally just trade it, and you'll notice that I don't really bring up ETH or all these other platforms either. I really do just trade Bitcoin. Yeah, Teal Street does, but I had some issues with it, and I just generally, you could use that. I just generally preferred Wuex. Yeah. Anyway, what I'll do as well now, 30-minute chart. Set alerts. Hi. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave that there, and then we have. This is literally my plan for the week, so it makes sense to just do it all in front of you, like what I'm planning out. Like I said, very, very clear now what needs to be looked at for the week ahead, especially in terms of I'm trading. I think again, a lot of people might not trade similar to how I trade, for example. In the aspect of waiting for longer move. Everyone wants to be intricate and trade like 1 minute scalp to the VWAP or whatever, which is perfectly fine. But if you're interested in more like the more medium time frame, still day trades, right? Still day trades. Then these are the levels I'm looking for, right? And also, so 1, 2, 3, and that's where it's at. Bybit is banned for UK customers now. Yes, it is. Which I thought would be a big deal at the time, but it's actually not been too bad at all. Trying out other things. There's also been a way to make much better YouTube videos now as well, so you'll see like better stuff on the YouTube hopefully as well. Let me know what stuff you want to see. I've got stuff planned for like Velo data, etc. Let's take a look at the order flow. I'll bring this onto the screen as well. See, it's this is not good. We need to fix this because look, you can see here that the order book's just frozen, which means the whole chart's frozen. That's the only reason I have the order book on my screen there. Is so I can see when it freezes or whatever, if it's live data coming through. See, this isn't even coming through right now. Yeah, this is not good. You know, we'll fix it. See, it's back now, but it's not good overall. There's quite a few longs opening up here, and we can just do a dynamic profile tool. We'll decrease this. Only really in those two candles actually. These are actually new shorts. I'd say there's some new longs in here as well though, up the top. Alright, well. Yeah. Thank you, Hostile Power. Appreciate it, mate. And we hopefully got a plan now for the week ahead, right? You'll see me trade breakdowns come out throughout the week. Much more stuff. I don't want to dwindle around too much in this. Hopefully the plan's been clear. If there's any more questions, get them in now. Binance flow. Oh, God, callous. I'm gonna do a thread on like the whole tape, and I've already done one on the DOM, but tape I will do. Yeah. How do you set up dynamic profile? In this left screen here, you got the left side here. Click on dynamic profile. I got mine hotkeyed to D, and then you can drag it, and then you click on the actual border. Okay, to access the settings, then you can adjust here. Cluster type, and this is where you get all the best settings, and you can adjust it from in there. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, CryptoSpeak. That's a very good point actually. That's something I didn't mention. But yeah, the daily high so far is within London session. Right, so like the chances it's head higher is decent. You know, it could just head higher here, and that's what I'm worried. So my London session actually ends in 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes to London session ends, but this is the daily high so far. So yeah, and this is actually within. I put out the London session. I thought I'd put this out within the newsletter actually. What the stats are exactly for this, so I've put this out in the newsletter for free yesterday if you want to go check that out. It's on the Twitter as well, X, but it's there, you know, where London high. This is not London, this is Asia low. Asia's put in the low for the day so far, London put in the high of the day so far. So stats wise it would make sense to head higher, but then also it could offer up that short trade where if it does head higher, you know that you got the high hit rate level below you, which I'm aware of that high hit rate level. I'll actually check the stats for you right now. I've got, because I have it on my other computer up. Let me open it. Right, so for this to get tested, 35, it was like around here, to be honest. So within 3 days, we have a 71.79% chance, which is quite high, right? So if it like just trickles up here, it would make sense to look for a short. And that's like the power stats, just look that up. And it's right there, so. Yeah, exactly. I do not look at liquidation heat maps. I don't think you'll ever see me looking at a liquidation heat map. So, you know, again, not saying it don't work, but yeah. It's slow. You trade now, or is it just? I've got it in the Exo template for Confluence, mate. Yes, it's there for Confluence. I might end up trading it more in the future, but right now I'm just solely trading Bitcoin. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, I'm gonna go get ready for New York session for me, which starts in 15 minutes. Again, it's different session times. Oh god, there's a lot of different questions now coming in. Funded accounts can be good. I don't use them. How do you measure percentage for the high hit rate levels? Again, will be covered in the future. What are your top gem picks for bull run? I don't have any. I just trade. I hold Bitcoin underneath, and I do hold Nvidia actually, and Apple, so they're doing all right, and Tesla. So yeah.